This is a really pragmatic solution when I think about it. Off the record, I had a conversation with a CEO, and I was saying to him, if I could do one thing for you, what would it be? And he goes, fill my OR for every minute of the day. He just said that would help me immensely because it alleviates my cost problem. It generates a lot of revenue, and we're able to do a lot of the things that, quite frankly, create constraints. And so that OR, those infusion centers, those clinics, I mean, keeping the throughput is so critical for these health systems. Are you finding a pretty good response from health systems as you have conversations around these challenges?
Yes, we do. It takes a while because I think the reality is people have just accepted that this is just the way life is. We all accept that if you drive downtown during rush hour, traffic is a lot and it'll take you longer to get there. Similarly, health systems have just come to accept the infusion centers are crowded in the middle of the day and patients will need to wait. The ORs will be short and we'll need to run into overtime and have extra anesthesiology teams and nursing teams late into the night. So people just accept that this is a reality because they understand it's a very hard problem. What is eye-opening to them is realizing how elegantly and in a sophisticated manner that this can in fact be solved. If you step back a minute and say, think about how every appointment in a health system is made. Two people chat. It could be the provider and the patient, the provider and the scheduler, or the scheduler and the patient. Two people chat. They look at the calendar and they say, Bill, Wednesday, 10 o'clock, whether it's for your procedure or for your infusion or for your doctor's appointment. They looked at the calendar and they made the appointment. There was no math involved in that decision. Nobody ran the stochasticity of the demand signal or the constrained optimization availability of the supply elements into it. They just looked at the empty calendar. This makes as much sense as, imagine, Bill, if you and I were solving a jigsaw puzzle and we're sitting near an empty table, we pick up a puzzle piece and I say, hey, Bill, where do you want to put this piece? And you say, that corner of the table looks empty, let's go put it there. And we do that with each piece as we go through, right? What is the chance that the puzzle is solved when we are done with the pieces? Zero. Why? In this model, each puzzle piece is like a patient. And the empty table that we started out with, which becomes full as the day progresses, is the calendar upon which we're making appointments. So just as we would not be surprised that the puzzle doesn't solve, how can we expect that the bolus of patients that were picked on any given day actually makes sense in terms of who needs to come in what order for what service? So there was no optimization in there. When we challenge health systems with that, they get it, and their first reaction is often, well, it's hard to predict the demand, and the supply is uncertain, and people don't show up on time, and nurses call in sick, and pumps are out of service, and robots go down, and so things happen. And so our comeback to that is, sure, let me give you an example where it works. Think about Uber. Uber has no idea how to predict the demand, right? Because in the last month alone, I've taken an Uber in New York, LA, and in South Dakota, and I don't live in any of those places. So the demand is hard to predict. The supply is even harder. The drivers don't even work for them. These are freelance agents who wake up and decide to drive today or not drive today. So what does Uber do? It builds sophisticated math models. It has continuously modeled demand for cars in every zip code, every minute of every day, everywhere in the world. And it factors in weather, time of day, political events, sporting events, etc., and therefore gets a really accurate demand signal. Then it looks at the driving pattern of all their drivers and figures out who drives when and where. And it tries to match the demand and supply signals. When they are off kilter, it proactively pings the drivers and tells them to come out for higher incentive or to drive west 6 blocks or to drive north 6 blocks just to start getting to where the action is. If the demand is too high, it does surge pricing. So it does crazy mathematics with dynamic real-time adjustment and machine learning to get the supply-demand signal to match in a world where the demand is volatile and the supply is unpredictable. Healthcare can do that. And that's kind of what we've done.